The red kite stages then marks the crossing into the second half of the season in the Pirelli Welsh Rally Championship, round 5 of this 8-round series. Let's head out onto the morning stages then here in Wales. It will be an early lead for Dylan Davies and Mark Glenister. Their first appearance of the season and in a new car. If only for this rally. The R5 Fiesta certainly capable of good things, and they were showing it here already. Behind Davies and Glenister on the leaderboard at this early stage will be Matthew Hurst and Declan Deer. They were hunting some more good points to add to their championship tally, and things were going well for the pair after the morning's 4 stages. Chasing down Hurst and rounding out the podium positions would be this man, Russ Thompson, Andy Murphy alongside. The pair leading the way in the N4 class as well at this stage, just 2 seconds back from those boys up ahead. In the positions just outside of the podium, it would be the lead in the W6 class for Steve Bennett and Ocean Owen. A good start for the pair to be leading the historic cruise at this stage. Wergutting and Bob Stocker reaching this stage of the rally second in the N4 class, just a few seconds back from Thompson up ahead. Second in the class, 5th on the leaderboard. Second of our W6 class runners and second historic crew as well will be Rudy Lancaster with Guy Weaver alongside. The Escort pairing just 4 seconds back from Utting in that 4-wheel drive Subaru up ahead. And it would be a close run thing back to 3rd in the class as well. Tom Llewellyn and Patrick Walsh taking up that position and just a couple of seconds behind Lancaster with it as well, chasing down that 2nd place in the class. There'd be a pretty notable change this weekend for Chris Powell and Jim Lewis. Of course, we're used to seeing them with a Sunbeam. They end the morning with 4th in the W6 class though. A change of class, of course, coming with a change of car. They've got a Mark II Escort instead of that trusty Sunbeam, and it looked like it was a good move. The times were quick. They were settling in well to that new car. For Alan Walker and Will Rogers, it would be 9th, their 2nd outing this season, and things were going well so far, it was fair to say, lying 9th place overall, 5th in the class. And rounding out the top 10 would be John Perrott and Andrew Sankey, the pair 13 seconds back from Walker at the midpoint of the rally. Of course, it's not all about just that top 10 leaderboard here in the Pirelli Welsh Rally Championship. So let's take a look at some of the positions outside of the top 10. Plenty of action here. It would be 2nd in the W13 class for Andy Williams and Andy Darlington. A strong start to the rally for the Subaru pair. Behind them in the class and overall results would be Josh Taylor and Heather Merrison. 3rd in W13 and 5 seconds back from Williams at this stage. The fight definitely on. Andrew Fox and Den Golding would have the early lead in the W12 class this weekend. The BMW pair putting in some strong times in the class and overall leaderboards. And behind Fox and Golding on the leaderboard in the class would be Colin Griffiths and Tom Bishop. 2nd in the class, just 16 seconds back from Fox up ahead then in the other BMW. And with Chris Powell out in the Escort, it would be one less crew to fight with for Dan Evans and Jess Hockley in the W3 class. Not that they mind a fight. They lead the way in that class convincingly from 14th overall. Howell Davies and Simon Jones make a good start in W5. They take the early advantage there with 4 stages under their belts now. And with that pair of BMWs fighting it out up ahead for the W12 class lead, it would be David Jones and Glyn Price taking 3rd at this stage. The pair rounding off a brace of BMWs filling the top of that class this weekend. For Emily and Elliot Ritalik, it would be a little lonely in W2 this weekend. They were the only crew registered. It wasn't stopping them pushing though. They were going well, lying in 20th overall. For Ron Morgan and Tudor Jenkins, it would be 2nd in W5. The times in the class were a little spread out, but they were still putting in some good pace. The W4 class, meanwhile, would see the Civic of Martin Walters and Marie Fletcher topping the results at the midpoint of the rally. Their lead in that place would be a strong one as well. In the N4 class for Rob and Ashley Aslett, it would be third. Not close enough to the top of those class results at this stage, but it wasn't stopping them from trying. The Asletts then splitting two W4 class contenders. Here, second in the class, it would be Steve Dealey and Alan Proudman, 28th on the overall leaderboard. And rounding out our championship runners at this stage would be Ken Davies and Alan Jones, third in the W5 class from 29th place overall. We're midway through the red kite stages then, and the leaderboard is starting to shape up. It looks like this. We're back on the stages then for a look at the final results, and there would be some change. Firstly, with the weather. The rain now falling heavily on the stages, certainly changing the challenge. And also for Emily and Elliot Retallick. No change in the class, of course, but they round out the finishers overall. For Ken Davies and Alan Jones, it would be third in W5. No change there then, but they do gain a few places overall, moving up to 24. Just ahead of them at this stage will be the Peugeot of Steve Dealey and Alan Proudman. They hold on to their second place in the W4 class as well to the finish. No change in the N4 class though, Rob and Ashley Aslett ending the rally with third in the class, 22nd on the leaderboard. It would be a class victory though this weekend for Martin Walters and Marie Fletcher. First in W4 was theirs in that Civic. For Ron Morgan and Tudor Jenkins, it would be second in W5 this weekend. The class quite spread out on the results as we noticed earlier, so that position wouldn't change throughout the rally. There were problems though for Woodgutting and Bob Stocko, meaning that they dropped down the leaderboard into 18th. A disappointing end after lying as high as 5th overall on the rally this morning. There's some change now though in the W12 class through the afternoon stages. Kevin Metcalf and Lewis Griffiths now taking third place in the class at the finish in their BMW. There was bitter disappointment inside that Mitsubishi, with issues for Matthew Hurst and Declan Deer, which saw them finish a long way down the order. They do, as far as the championship points are concerned, thankfully keep hold of third in the W13 class though. But on days like today, that's a small consolation. It would be though the class victory for Howell Davies and Simon Jones this weekend. They'd held on to that position from the start, so it would be an expected but welcomed result, and as we've seen so far in this championship, and indeed on today's leaderboard, what we expect isn't always what we see at the finish. Dan Evans and Jess Hockley may have been the only competitors running in the W3 class by the finish, so the points were guaranteed, but they'd shown their pace and they had 12th place on the overall results to show for it. There's more change in W12 though as we go through the results, and sadly for Andrew Fox and Den Golding, it wasn't a good one. They dropped down to second in the class. They'd held the lead this morning, but it wasn't to be through the afternoon stages. They didn't quite have the pace. We move on to the top 10 then, and it's a 10th place finish for Andy Williams and Andy Darlington, the pair taking second in W13 this weekend. We saw that drop down to 11th then on the leaderboard for Andrew Fox and Den Golding, and that's as a result of this fight for the W12 class lead, which would of course mean a change to the lead, and it would be Colin Griffiths and Tom Bishop who take the points this weekend, taking the victory by just 15 seconds. For Josh Taylor and Heather Merrison, it would be the W13 class victory. A good end to the rally for the pair, taking that position through the afternoon stages as well as 8th place overall. A popular class this weekend, indeed, filling out the top of our results was the W6 class. And for John Perrott and Andrew Sankey, it would be 5th, 7th place overall. That fairly monumental move to the Escort had gone well seemingly for Chris Powell and Jim Lewis. As far as this weekend was concerned anyway, they reached the end of the rally with 6th place overall, 4th in W6 among our regulars here in the Welsh Rally Championship. And one of those regulars will be Tom Llewellyn with Patrick Walsh alongside. They take the final podium step in the class, as well as 5th on the leaderboard, 38 seconds ahead of Powell. No change to that class position then for Rudy Lancaster and Guy Weaver. Second in W6 will be theirs this weekend. They do, though, gain a couple of positions to take fourth overall. On we go then to the podium places, and we conclude the W6 class fight, which at the end of the day went with top honours in the two-wheel drive crews as well to Steve Bennett and Ocean Owen. Winners of the N4 class this weekend would be Russ Thompson and Andy Murphy. Their class position may not have changed throughout the day, but the loss of Matthew Hurst from second would mean that that position becomes theirs at the finish. But taking victory this weekend in a highly anticipated debut in the new car would be Dylan Davies and Mark Lannister. What a day it had been for them in that Fiesta, taking the victory by 53 seconds at the end of the day's 6 stages. Here's your confirmation then of the overall final results on the Red Kite stages, round 5 of the Pirelli Welsh Rally Championship.